Okay, let's see. Hopefully the audio is good, but I'm going to spend some time getting this right. Okay, I think the audio is a little too low. Let's see. Okay, the audio is good. Well, hopefully someone will tell me, but greetings, commanders and historians. Welcome to my monthly, I would say, live stream. And a continuation of the live stream project trying to make a community Star Quest campaign. So, I am one page more, and I'm here to announce my fantastic new frog avatar. Yes, thank you, Tabletop Date Night. I did have to pay a pretty penny to get this Battle Brother to hold me in this awesome library over here. So this is I get to have so much fun now. I have a corporeal form. Before I was just a disembodied voice, but now I have range, and I can reach with my crappy little arms. Ooh. This is my path to becoming a VTuber. The early days, I guess. Yeah, I'm excited about this. The arms move. My guy blinks. If I move, he can lean forwards and backwards and side to side, and he can crouch down. And if he gets too tall, his eyeball comes off. It's great. And then on top of that, I'm working on some more physics with this guy. So his toes, like his toes over here and over here, they'll wobble around when I'm moving. But yeah, this is... I guess I can say this now. I am officially the first ever one-page rules VTuber. It's a title that I hold dear to my heart, and one that I probably will never be, well, first ever. It can't be claimed by anyone else. There might be the first biggest ever, but the likelihood of that is low, unless Warboss makes himself... Warboss should make himself a VTuber model. That's what I would say, yeah. So yeah, that's my fun little show-off item here. Also, I have been working on some other things other than making a video, which is good use of my time, I would say, which I've been working on a chatbot, which we'll probably be getting to later on this stream. And it's pretty simple. It just shows off the like, you can vote for things, you can add things to a list to vote for, and the hope with that is to be able to allow you guys to interact with a game of StarQuest, or Devious mentioned last night an idea of actually doing like a horde mode where chat controls the horde and players have to play against chat. And I really like that idea. So I'm working on that as well. Yeah. Let's see here. What? I'm going to just pull in some stuff up here. Let's see. Cool. Looks like we've got about 5 people, which is pretty darn awesome. Well, Tabletop Date Night, I'm glad it sounds fun for you, but with a name like Tabletop Date Night, I think you would be really in favor for any chat games. Well, hello, Shock. Welcome to the live stream. This is my debut as the first One Page Rules VTuber, I guess. Unofficially official? Yeah. So, tonight we have a few fun things to do. One of which is working on the custom StarQuest campaign that we started on stream almost 2 months ago. And I've worked on taking all of the notes that we worked on previously and turning that into story, breaking it out into chapters, missions, and now what I need help with is putting all of that together and actually formulating what the mission should be, what the maps for the mission should be like, and what special rules and other factors like that. So, I'm going to wait a little bit before we jump into that and ask if anyone's read the new Eternal Dynasties lore book, or faction book, I should say. I bought it a little over a week ago, printed out a copy of it out for myself, and I do have to say the art is great in that book. Also, if you hear me not talking for a little bit, it's most likely because I'm eating my dinner, because I haven't had a chance to eat my dinner yet. But okay, I just paged through it, mostly looking at their art. Okay, I found out most people have been paging through it. Shock, you've been reading it. I actually had a hard time reading through the faction book, which is why I printed out. Snazzy, I'm having a teriyaki burger for dinner. Very, very healthy, especially for frogs like myself. I had a hard time reading through the book, mostly because it just slams you across the face with a bunch of just names of things without context, and then you have to go and continue reading it. It kind of felt like when I used to read constitutional law books for fun, which is a horrible hobby that I've long since ditched. But you just get plastered with a bunch of these concepts that aren't necessarily defined because you're supposed to know them. And that's a little bit what I felt with this. Also, I have an absolutely terrible habit when I read any form of fiction of when I see a name that looks just a little bit too hard to try to pronounce or figure out how to pronounce, I just kind of look at the first letter, and that's that person's name from there out. Yeah, I've done that with a lot of science fiction series. But hey, my foray into constitutional law was a hobby that was enjoyed by 16-year-old me, and it was not a punishment. Probably a punishment would have been having me go to a party. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one tabletop date night that does the first letter thing. Because, yeah, if there's more than 26 characters, or the author really enjoys one particular letter, that gets difficult. But I find it especially difficult with military fiction, and I found this with some of the one-page rule short stories, where a character has a title, a first name, and a last name. So I shouldn't say that makes it harder. It makes it easier, because then there could be Major L, and then there could be Sergeant L, or various. So we get more combinations. I've heard authors intentionally try not to start two characters with the same letter for that reason. I saw a similar thing with J.R. Martin, if that's his name, a Song of Ice and Fire author, where he started doing that when he was first writing, but then he decided that he liked having more than 26 characters, and so then he just named a bunch of people John. But yeah. So, overall, the faction book, the art is fantastic. I've always been impressed by One Page Rules' ability to, like, lay out a book. Meaning the way they structure the pages, the way that they set up the chapters, all of that. That's been really impressive and makes it easy to navigate. And there's these sections that I'm really, really impressed by. Like, there's one for the Kasarian language, or the Eternal Dynasty's language, where it gives you an alphabet, and the alphabet's not just like, here's 26 letters. This random character is A, this random character is B. But there's more complexity behind it. So you can actually come up with words and translate it into this language and make cool symbols that you could paint on your models. And it also would help with making custom subfactions or clans. And then what's really cool is this one part of the book where it shows notable subfactions, but it has like a basic Eternal Dynasty warrior, almost in, it's not quite a T-pose because the arm's not stretched out, but it's in this open pose, and it shows different color schemes you can have. So this book has a lot of good things when it comes to the visual aspect. So reading through this and looking through this, I'm like, oh, it makes me want to paint an Eternal Dynasty model. I like that. I can't get behind the lore, though. It's... I don't know, it's not compelling to me. And I don't know if that's just because it's not compelling to me because I'm not in favor of the way they went about the lore, like the telling of it, or if it's just I've seen a bunch of characters that start with the letter Y, and so it just sounds like this one dude is Master Chief through 10,000 years of history. Because I don't actually read their names. I don't know. Shock. Yeah, the alphabet. I'm glad that you like the alphabet part 2. That's one of the cooler things. And then tabletop, the water instead of the road things makes their tanks make more sense now. Yes, it does. Also, I wish I had a quick way I could show this. There's a map that I really loved the map. The reason why I love the map is because it's showing the sector of space that the Eternal Dynasty have control over, and their holdings are depicted as islands, and the routes they take between their holdings are depicted almost like rivers or oceans. And so they maintain this water motif that they get from their original planet being mostly water with islands. And so the visual storytelling in this book is really top notch. I've always been impressed by their visual storytelling. They could just need to work on their written storytelling. And I hate to say that because I don't like being critical of fiction in particular, because it takes so much work, and also I'm not a writer. And I don't really like the idea of critiquing people who do something that I can't do particularly well. But yeah, I think this is a great first step for them making their faction books. I just don't understand why they also picked the Eternal Dynasties. So if anyone knows that, why they picked Eternal Dynasties as their first faction for faction books, that would be great. I looked on the Discord to see if anyone had any context on that, but I couldn't find anything. I think my microphone and stuff cut out for a second, so. Okay. Let's get set up. I'm looking for my tablet's pen so I can color in my Microsoft Paint for tonight, but I'm not finding it, so apologize for the dead air. Apparently I wasn't as organized as I thought. Oh, my frog is... Boy, that poor frog, he's just really leaning right now. Shock. I thought it was because it was more their own original faction than others, and they already had the models made. Okay, that's fair. They already have the models made. But the Saurian Star Hosts are also kind of original. In the almost as original as I would say the Eternal Dynasty are, because the Eternal Dynasty are basically the Tau from 40k with extra steps, in the same way that the Saurian Star Hosts are... They're more like the Necrons, actually. So, but, I mean, how original can you be in making up your own space faction? I feel like everything has already been done a billion times. The other part that I thought was interesting of why picking the Eternal Dynasty over anything else is the Eternal Dynasty doesn't originate in the Sirius sector, and like every other faction except for 2 are also from the Sirius sector. So it's an interesting thing to start the faction books from the standpoint of an external force invading the Sirius sector. Not a bad choice. It's an interesting one that I would love to have more context around it, like why they chose that. And you can even see it very early on in the lore book, where it like their species name given to them is the Cassarians, from people in the Sirius sector, because okay, I'm double checking. I just got a message from YouTube saying the stream wasn't stable, so I just want to make sure people can still see me and stuff. Master William, glad you've read it. Welcome to the stream. Shock. Maybe they took random picks between the factions with models. Yeah. Excuse me. That's fully possible, but it was definitely coordinated because they released more Eternal Dynasties short stories leading up to the release, which I thought was smart. It was kind of coordinated. Master, they repeat themselves a lot. In what way are you saying they repeat themselves a lot? Like the book is repetitive, or what? Seriously, not finding my tablet pen. Makes me wonder if a small child walked off with it. Like, almost a year ago was in a survey. Oh, there was a vote. I missed that. I must have missed that vote. It shows you how much of a lore expert I am. If I'm missing surveys like that. Okay. Well, I'm not finding my tablet pen, so I guess we're not going to be using my tablet tonight. But let's move on to... Oh. That's awkward. He disappears. Okay. Let's move on to... this. Aha. That's all that happens here. A small child walks up with everything, walks up with a random thing I've never seen before and can't figure out where it came from. Okay, I have a story for that. My oldest child, when we moved into the house we're in now, we have this fan in the living room, a ceiling fan, that the only way to turn on the ceiling fan itself, on and off, is with a remote. Now, there's 2 light switches that can control it, and one light switch turns the light on, and the other light switch turns the fan on, but you can render those 2 light switches completely useless if you flip both of them on and use the remote to turn the light and the fan off. Well, someone turned the light and the fan off when the light switches were up, and then the remote disappeared. And it was, we couldn't find it. We looked everywhere for it, couldn't find it. And then we gave a car away to a friend. They found, tucked under the driver's seat, a small child's backpack. And in the backpack was a remote. And so they returned the remote, and it was the remote to the fan. So, yeah. That was a fun time when we didn't have a fan for a year. So that's always dealing with that. Okay. Let's see here. Good, I can draw. I'm still trying to figure out how to get my frog hand to hold the pencil when I'm drawing. That would be a lot of fun. Kids are great and also sometimes not great. Yeah, that's parenthood in half. Speaking of parenthood, I will be welcoming my 4th child into the world next month. Which kind of explains why I haven't been around as much, because been dealing with my wife's pregnancy and getting ready for the new baby. So exciting times. Thank you. Okay, so let's... Thank you, Shock. We're excited. I've wasted enough of our time. I don't know, wasted is the right word. Oh, wow, you welcomed kid number 4 earlier this month. Congratulations as well. You need to let me know if the transition from kid 3 to 4 is as bad as the transition from kid 2 to 3. Because that one was rough for me. I'm glad someone else is in the same boat. Yeah. Something has to go. And unfortunately, I have to keep my day job. So YouTube had to go. As much. But yeah, the transition from 2 to 3 kids was rough. Because that's going from... like a one-on-one game to playing zone defense. So before you just one kid, one parent equaled out, then you were outnumbered. Snazzy, not as bad with the transition 3 to 4. Yes, you would know. Yeah, apparently. Whoa, okay, the transition from 1 to 3, that's probably not probably. That is way more challenging than 2 to 3. So, okay, so quick tally here. Based off of what people have said so far, what is it? There's like 15 kids between all of us in chat. That ratio is wild. It makes me worried about what type of audience I'm cultivating over here. That's a dang army by Snazzy. Whoa! Strudel! Welcome to the stream, but also 6. That you have 1 kid per side of die. Like, I feel like there's some sort of game that you could have with that. Well, Shock, don't worry. It's perfectly fine to not have kids. The chat has enough kids to go around. Liam, welcome. And, yes. Teacher does count. I don't know if you get to count... Like, if you have 20 students, I don't know if you get to count all 20 students. Because they're also in school, I feel like you should get either double, like 40 kids? I don't know. But I'm just saying, right now, we have 6 people watching. We have 21 kids before Liam. So we've got 3 kids per person. Yeah. Okay, so we have effectively an army of 40 kids in this live stream. I don't know what to do with that information, but that's wild. 40 kids. 40. Okay. Question mark? Is that conspiracy? I don't know. Okay. That's a better size. So, I think we've got our momentum going here, so we might as well move on to my first topic of the first topic. Like this is a work meeting. Thank you all for joining me on this wonderful evening for this work call. I know Zoom can be spotty sometimes, but we have a very important working session that we can synergize together, and hopefully we can capture the creative energy of all 40 of the kids we have access to help us work on this community campaign. I hope that was as gross to you as it was to me to say. Okay. So, last time... Shock. Question about the quest campaign. Is it against a specific faction? Snazzy? You know double click is my least favorite. Least favorite corporate term. Pushing my buttons. So, yeah, good question here, Shock. So, in the last stream that we talked about, I talked with people about, we decided on there being 3 primary factions in this, where it is the infected colonies. Man, this is a lot harder without my pen. Maybe I can get away with this. Yeah. Let's try 24. Okay. The alien hives and the wormhole demons. Okay. Those are the 3 factions that people decided on. Which sounds like a lot. And it was based off of a fun little idea where the alien hives were actually hired the party to do this quest. And the alien hives have this space station. I'm going to draw a bad space station here. Is that a muffin? I think I just drew a really crappy muffin. I would love if the infected colonies was the next faction book. It touches so many different factions, and it's a really interesting story. And it's one that, if they play their cards right, they can avoid making it like 40K. But yeah. So, we have this cupcake station. And it's a station outside of alien hive controlled space. And it's one where the alien hives are trying to do some negotiations to get this trade agreement going. Unfortunately, a soul snatcher went rogue and started doing the soul snatcher thing inside of the space station. At the same time, an infection of the infected colonies cropped up in the space station. And so with the soul snatcher taking down leadership and weakening the defenses of the space station, the infected colonies took hold. And then on top of that, the wormhole demons decided to show up in the reactor room engineering area of the space station. So we have this wonderful cupcake, actually, I guess might be apt, where we have infected colonies at the top. I see at the top, and wormhole demons in the bottom, and they both come together in the middle. So as you progress through the campaign, you're moving from the top section, the middle section, to the bottom section. Or, alternatively, and this is another piece that talked about previously, was that the players could have a choice of either going from top to bottom or bottom to top. So it, depending on the choice you make at the very beginning of the campaign determines where you're going to start, and the story kind of takes a different path depending on which way you go. So the alien hives hire the party to figure out what's going on in this station and to potentially eliminate the Soul Snatcher that went rogue there. The party arrives on the ship and everything's just bad. And they have to destroy the station. And that's done by, if you start from the top, you have to find the self-destruct. Codes. And there's 2 of them. One is in the main command area, and another is held by one of the other station chiefs. So you have to find both of them, and then you make your way down the station to the reactor core where you're supposed to add them. Where you're supposed to put those codes into the reactor, and the reactor goes on a timer, and it's fantastic. You run away, and it goes boom. What that entails, though, is the party gets into an elevator, and as they're going down, something happens to the elevator in the middle floors, where they have to get out, and they have to fight the stuff on the middle floors to get to another elevator to go down to the floor. Once they make it down here, they input the codes into the reactor, and they find a escape pod and fly away and claim their reward. So each chapter takes place on one section of the space station. So chapter 1. Wow, that's really, really great writing on my part. Is if we're gonna go the like route 1, this is gonna be top floor. Chapter 2 is middle floor, and then chapter 3 is bottom floor. I had to help my dad in the kitchen, lost the answer to my question, what's happening now. So it's just an overview. There's 3 factions. It's the infected colonies, the alien hives, and the wormhole demons. And the infected colonies have taken over the top floor of a space station. The wormhole demons have taken over the bottom floor of the space station. And the 2 factions are clashing in the middle. Tabletop date night, that's a cool way of differentiating the chapters. Thanks. So, every chapter, like chapter 2 and chapter 1 and 2 end with the party going into an elevator. And so there is these elevator like sub-chapters where these are where the party get to go and shop. So the idea here is having a narrative explanation of the meta aspect of StarQuest, where you actually between chapters you can go to a store and buy equipment and level up and stuff. But since the entire campaign takes place in a single space station, you kind of don't really have the narrative freedom of them going and flying away and going and to space Costco and buying stuff. So the idea was on the elevator, there is like an automated shop that the party can take part in. So the party going from the top floors, get in the elevator, go to the shop. Then something happens to that elevator, and they have to pile out in the middle floor. You'll go find another elevator, and on that elevator they go and shop, and then they go to this bottom floor for chapter 3. The idea is you're gonna find the security codes on the top and mid floor, I think. Yes. And then you put them in on the bottom floors. Now, this same aspect works, but in the reverse, where if instead of starting from the top going down, you go from the bottom up, but this time you discover what's going on with the reactor. You set the reactor up for the actual self-destruct sequence, but you have to go find the security codes and input them into a security console in the command station on the top of the station. So you can keep the same kind of overall story in either direction. But yeah, that's kind of the recap of the overall story and what was discussed last time. Now, there's a bunch of little bits and pieces here and there, but we can get into those later. Is there any questions? There we go. Well, Space Costco. Are the hot dogs still only a $1.50? No, they're not $1.50. They're 1.5 credits. Because we're in space, we don't have dollars. We have either space dollars or credits. Okay. So, let's see here. Now, what I am planning on doing tonight with this is we need to fill out the information for the campaign relating to the mission itself. So that's, what does the battlefield look like? What are the special rules? What type of enemies do we want to have in this mission? What are the additional, like, optional challenges? What's the objective? What's the reward? What's the deployment like? All those things. And I want to get through, I believe there's a total of 8 missions, and I want to try to get through as many of them as possible. I assume you have a leader character for each chapter. Kind of. It's so the party itself works as that. There is some roles that the party kind of fills. So, in Chapter 1, the party needs to decide one of the characters to be the pilot, for example. So, and that's where I think we can start. So, I'll read off the background story for Mission 1, Chapter 1. And then we can start working on, like, what the battlefield should look like. And what is the recommended battlefield? So, the prelude to this is the party has now made the deal with alien hives to go to the space station. They've come into the space station. They're in their landing sequence. The party's decided to go on the top floors, and they're trying to land, and then that's where this starts off. So the shuttle rattles violently as it breaks through the station's decaying perimeter Perimeter defenses. Emergency klaxons flaring inside the cramped cabin. Outside the space station looms a massive hammer-shaped ruin. We decided it was cupcake, but hammer-shaped works. Half cloaked in swirling debris, flickering lights barely illuminate the battered hull. Organic growths like tumors cling to the structure in sprawling webs. The alien hive's deep briefing echoes in your mind. Minimal resistance is expected. Investigate secure control systems. Yet the eerie silence and battered wreckage tell a different story. As your shuttle approaches the landing bay, warning sirens wail, collision alert blaring across the screen, bulkhead doors groan, emergency power flickers, the ship's autopilot cuts out. You only have seconds to correct your course before you either land safely or become another burning wreck among the station's dead. So that's the very first thing, and then it goes into a challenge that the party needs to go to, where they have to decide who's the pilot, and they need to make a dexterity check. And depending on what that dexterity check is, they end up either crash landing into the landing bay, where they add alertness 2 times the difficulty of alertness to the next mission. So they start out with, instead of being at 0, they could be upwards of 6, which would auto spawn. Does that auto spawn? Anyways, it just makes it more difficult overall. If they do an okay job, which is a 3 to 5, they damage their ship, but there are no negative consequences. But if they get a 6+, they land safely and discover a bunch of equipment boxes that the party then gets to roll on the equipment box table. So, leaders for the infected colonies, alien hives, and wormhole demons. Bosses, I guess. So that's the thing we get to actually decide here. So narratively, there is only one boss, and that was decided on, and that was a wormhole demon, who the party actually has to either defeat or hold off while they wait for the second elevator. But we can definitely have an infected colony boss, and alien hive or whatever. So that's where we can get to. After the party does the check, they move on to this text, which is: the shuttle hatch hisses open, revealing the battered, expansive station's landing bay. A thin layer of fog clings to the ground, swirling around scattered crates, twisted metal scaffolds, and abandoned machinery. The distant hum of failing generators buzz through the stale air. The main airlock looms ahead, a heavy reinforced portal leading deeper into the station's core. Its surface is scorched and dented, as if something inside had been pounding to get out. Flanking the path to the airlock, 2 wrecked ships sit half embedded into the deck, their hulls ruptured and burnt. Scattered around the wreckage are abandoned supply crates marked with emergency signs, possibly containing valuable equipment. You move forward cautiously, boots echoing on the cracked floor. Then a screaming alarm blares. With a deafening crash, the airlock bursts open. A wave of mutated, infected humans comes tumbling through, their bodies twisted by disease and mutation, their eyes blazing with mindless rage. And that's the start of the mission. So, with all of that, prelude, we have some decisions to make. One, what does the battlefield look like? So we have a thing. So the standard for StarQuest, if I remember this correctly, I think it's 4 feet by 4 feet. Yes. We're just going to call it 4 feet by 4 feet. But that doesn't mean we have to stick to that. Okay. Looks like I need to move this so it's actually visible. Boop. Okay, it looks like my frog got bumped for some reason. There we go. Good, I'm glad you like it so far. Tabletop. Actually, I think this is a good point for us to try out the fun little feature that I want. The chat bot. Who wants to see if we can make a chat bot work? It's more of a rhetorical question, because you're stuck in the ride with me. Okay. Here we go. Let's see if this works. William says, if you have access to an FDM printer, Instant Sci-Fi by Big Dumb Fun Games is a really nice terrain set that will work perfectly for this. Yeah, actually, I have been working with Snazzy around that, actually, to get him to print some stuff for me. I'm using a different sci-fi set, but I'm definitely going to look out for that one in particular. That's a good recommendation. Okay, so I think this should work. Perfect. Okay, so you see there's this voting box on stream now. There should be visible. Yeah. You all can actually use a command, which would be !action, and you can write a recommendation or anything, and it gets stored there. Then I can open up votes, and then we all can vote for things. So this is the chatbot that I've been working on to do this. So one of the things that we could do on this stream to just test it out and have fun is we can add recommendations to what we want this mission to be like. We can vote on it. You guys can just add stuff to this list, but feel free to try it out. Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm not an approved user. Let's see if that works. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, any of you can do !action, all lowercase, and write stuff, and it will appear on here. That's a lot of power to give to chat. I'm trusting you all. Hopefully that trust isn't misplaced. Okay, so back to this. So we have this situation where we're in a landing bay. We have a ship that's ours. So we have ships that are crash landed. We have the exit point. Wow, that's absolutely horrendously written by me. We're gonna get rid of that. Okay, I like that. We're gonna add that. Master. That's what you said. Okay. Position this here. So, power up visibility. Okay, that's my attempt at power outage, where I shortened power. So the visibility, that's good. I like that. So there are some visibility rules that are pre-built into StarQuest that we can leverage there. Okay. Okay. So we have that. The table could be something like this, where it's more of a narrow corridor with shipwrecks kind of on the side. Something like this. With the airlock right here. And the start point, like the party's ship, is over here. And then there's more ships over here. So then the enemies would spawn from here and go over. What are your thoughts on this particular? Because this would be really close quarters, because it would be narrow. The other option could be, instead of doing that, don't have a narrow passageway, but just add obstacles on either side. And so whatever terrain pieces they have, and then this maintain this main thoroughfare here with the exit this way. The other thing is, what's the objective for this particular mission? Like, is the party trying to get to the airlock? Or are they trying to kill all of the enemies that came out of the airlock? There's a bunch of potential things there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Let's see if this works. Did that work? Okay. Yes, it did work. So people can know. So what I just did is I added 3 options available to everyone on the stream, and you can actually vote for it there if you all want to do that, actually. Okay. Anyways. So, we have, if this is what we like, we need the mission objectives, which would be kill all the enemies, which I think makes the most sense. Yes. So for the voting, sorry, I need to explain that tabletop. All you have to do is !point vote and then the number. So 1, 2, or 3. And then you end up with a vote. So I just did 1. !point vote 1. And that should come through. Or maybe not. Maybe my thing's broken. Okay. We'll just postpone that. Okay. Instead, I will do it the old-fashioned way. Okay. I got rid of that. That's not working great. But I added a poll to the actual YouTube, so you should be able to vote there just by clicking on things. So, William, how about a secondary action to reach a console that, if successful, slows down or hinders the enemy? I like that idea. I think we can use that potentially in Mission 2. Because what we're trying to achieve in Mission 1 is to get into the space station. The space station, our current obstacle to getting to the space station is a bunch of enemies. So those enemies are... I just got distracted by the pole. Okay, make it. So right now it's survive number of rounds, make it to the exit. That's what we have so far. Yes. So the goal is to make it to the exit. Kind of exit type thing. Where they're trying to make it to the rest of the space station. Someone needs to break this tie. Because we're 50-50 split right now. Okay. We broke it for just a second, and then now we have a 3-way tie. That's democracy in action. Okay, so while we're deciding on that, we have the power outage thing, which we can use to control visibility. There's also, that's one of the optional hazards that we could do. And I think the deployment, we start them out. over here on the far side of the station, of the walkway, and then enemies come from here. Okay. That's what we'll do. Okay, so kill all enemies it is. Okay, I think that's all we need for mission 1. So I'm going to label this. Now let's move on to mission 2. Wow. So mission 2, I'll start by reading the background story, and then we can move on from there. The sealed airlock groans shut behind you with a heavy clang, isolating you from the landing bay's chaos. For a moment, a brittle, uneasy silence settles over the team. Ahead lies the control deck, the administrative heart of the space station. Dim, flickering lights struggle to illuminate the vast corridor stretching out before you. The walls here are warped and buckled, panels ripped apart as if clawed open from within. A sickly, bioorganic growth coils around the walls, pulsating faintly like veins beneath deceased flesh. The floor is littered with broken terminals, cracked personal belongings, and the skeletal remains of the station's original crew. The deeper you move, the more unnatural it feels. The station seems alive, breathing, watching. The gravity occasionally fluctuates. Distant metallic bangs echo through the ventilation shafts, accompanied by inhuman shrieks carried on the station's dying air currents. Here, the infected and mutated rule. This was once a place of order, security checkpoints, data repository, command bridges. Now it's a labyrinth of rotting technology and festering madness. Okay. I think I might be going to change something up here. Because I think we could be... I don't know. I have a question. We've been doing this particular part of the live stream for about an hour now. Is this fun for people so far? Because I'm perfectly fine with switching to something else, or continuing with this, or even opening this up for people to join a Discord call to actually have this be a conversation rather than just a chat with chat. It's up to you all. I just want to make sure that this is actually fun and you're not just looking at a blackboard with a frog, and while I don't talk all that often. So, just let me know if things need to change or if you want more than just my voice in this call. But here we go. So we have to have our Game Boy board here, and this time we have our entrance, which is coming from some side. Coming from some side. And the goal of this mission is to find the security key. No, it's to find the console that has the security key. So we're looking for the command station. So it's located somewhere. So command console. That's the goal. Okay. Master, you're coming in clutch here with that recommendation here. Let's see. Just trying to add things here. Okay, so the special rules for this would be what you were talking there. Okay, so on a D6, 1 to 2 is a heavy gravity, which slows them, which I'm assuming is just the slow special rule there, William. And then it progresses from there. Shock, no problem. You're doing great. Thank you, William, for joining. Okay. So there is that special rule here. So we do the gravity, which gives something for the party to deal with. Now the question is, does the gravity special rule apply to the enemies as well? I'm inclined to say no. Because they're infected colony, and they probably have really weird gribbly arms and stuff that allows them to do things like move in higher gravity. So, does it affect enemies? Don't know. Also, if it didn't affect enemies, that would make it a lot easier for the party to remember, like the players to remember that special rule should be in effect. So, anyways, just for anyone who has joined recently, we are working on the custom campaign for StarQuest. This custom campaign is an continuation of a previous stream, but don't worry, it's not like you need all that context. We're working right now on mission 2 of the campaign, and it's the party enters a space station, and they're trying to move their way. And trying to find the self-destruct sequence security codes, and that's what we're working on right now. Allison, welcome. Man, OPR don't have any characters. It's time to do this in the campaign, don't you think? Yes. Who are the characters? That's a good question. Right now, the party would create their own characters, but we could make our own characters. One of the ideas I brought up previously was to do, like, every chapter there be a character or a boss type. And on this, in this chapter, we're dealing with the infected colonies. So if you have any ideas for an infected colony character / boss, that would be fantastic. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm open to taking suggestions at all on who is let me try to rephrase that. English is my first language and I struggle. No, so I'm fine with recommendations throughout, either on characters or not. Enemy characters, I'm pro enemy characters for this, mostly because I don't know of an easy way for us to create pre-made characters with the StarQuest tool, like the campaign manager. because that you create your own character in that, and then you join the session. And I don't know how to have any pre-made one of those that can be shared. So then each player would have to like create the character, the pre-made character, which doesn't sound like a lot of fun. So enemy characters would be great because we can make custom things and save them in the collection and share the collection to anyone who wants to play this campaign. So that's my preference. Unless anyone knows of how to use the StarQuest tool in ArmyForge to share characters. Ah! Brasileiro. Bem-vindos. Eu falo pouco português, mas inglês é minha idioma primária. Maybe an infected AI of the station that guides the character of the players. That can be an option to have a character that is not an enemy. Okay, so yes, we have an AI option. Thank you. Appreciate that, Allison. I served a mission in Brazil 12 years ago. And I haven't been back, but I've tried to keep up my Portuguese. So my Portuguese is a lot rusty. But my wife and I practice. I have a fun story with that. I'm absolutely terrible at spelling. So whenever my wife would try to say something to me, like, would spell words to me so the kids don't understand, I would look just as confused as the kids would, because I just can't do it. I'm not good at spelling, and she can spell really quickly. So I'm so bad at spelling that my wife actually has been learning Portuguese so we can talk to each other in a language the kids will understand. So it was easier for her to learn another language than it was for me to learn how to spell correctly, I guess. But yeah, she's been learning with Duolingo, and we practice with each other, and she's pretty good so far. She's been doing it for almost 3 years now. And soon she's going to be better at Portuguese than I am. Okay. So we have the suggestion for an AI character. Previously, people had talked about maybe having the captain of the ship be an infected colony or member, or possessed by a demon, and it's actually just the head of the captain that the party can find. So the party finds somewhere the head of the captain, and I'm just going to give him a little top hat. And that captain can still talk because, demons or something. And if the party finds him, they can make a check or something, and then the captain helps them in subsequent missions. Allison, the factions are infected colonies and wormhole demons, but there's also room for soul snatcher cults. And tabletop, yes. My wife really likes Duolingo, but they've made some changes recently that make the early lessons less useful than what they used to be, and that's mostly because they're using AI to populate a lot of the early lessons. So there's that. Also, she has someone who speaks Portuguese in the house with her to help, so that makes learning the language a lot easier and makes Duolingo a lot more viable. My wife wants me to learn Korean. Oh, for some reason. So yeah, you could Duolingo. I don't know about Duolingo when it comes to Korean, but Duolingo for Portuguese is really good. We have a really good laugh going through Duolingo often because they have these like practice scenarios that you're supposed to listen to two voice actors interacting, and the voice acting is absolutely hysterical. Like one of the lines is "Edgy, que camisa bonita." It's just over the top voice acting. I love it. Yes. So if your wife is bilingual, that is a big help. And again, I'm gonna get sidetracked once again. We're supposed to be talking about this captain, this bodiless captain who is possessed by a demon that can help the party, and coming up with that character. But speaking of fluent, I've found that there's very few definitions of fluency that are actually useful. And the one I found that makes the most sense to me in my experience with learning other languages is fluent. You are fluent in a language when you are able to learn the rest of the language without your original language. Meaning, if you're learning Korean, for example, you've learned enough Korean that you can ask the questions you need to and understand the answers necessary to learn the rest of the language. So if you were to go from English to Korean and someone was to magically take English away from you, you're fluent if you can make that transition relatively easily. So you don't need to be able to know everything. You don't need to be able to talk about any topic. But if you're having a conversation with someone, you're able to ask questions in that conversation to get the context necessary to understand. That's the definition that I've seen that I like the most. It also makes fluency kind of, I don't know, more achievable. Which might not be a good thing, but there's a big difference between being like a native level speaker and fluent. And yeah, I think that works for me for fluency. So anyways, so AI or captain, which one? Are we doing AI or a possessed captain head? Or was the captain a robot legion guy who had his head cut off and now he's possessed by a demon? I don't know. What's your all thoughts? And then we also need a name. A name for this guy. Tabletop. That's a good definition. Have you ever jumped back and forth mid-conversation? My wife and sister do that all the time. Yes. We have to do that quite frequently with my wife and I because she's still learning. She's approaching that definition of fluency, but there's a lot of instances where we have to switch back and forth. Now, what I find interesting is because I don't have enough practice speaking Portuguese on a regular basis, that part of my brain is like has zero stamina. So a few weeks ago, I was actually speaking to a Brazilian woman who moved to the United States a few years ago, and her English isn't great. So I was speaking exclusively in Portuguese with her. And after about an hour, I was exhausted. It was so tiring. And it's because that part of my brain that speaks Portuguese is just not used to being used monolingually. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to leave it up to you guys what this captain's name is. We could combine it with this, maybe. Perfect. Villario. Captain Villario. So the party finds Captain Villario. They may or may not find Captain Villario. And he is able to help them in the next mission. This mission, the goal is to find the command center, or the command console. And so it's an exploratory mission. So there's some static enemies throughout. And as the mission progresses, the alertness increases. And then all of a sudden, things spawn. So that's that. I think we're good with mission 2. Okay. Mission 3. Again, welcome everyone to the stream. It seems like we have about 13 people here, which is fantastic. Welcome all. Don't know how long all of you have been sticking around, but we're working on the community campaign for One Page Rules Star Quest. We just finished up going over mission 2 of chapter 1, and we're going to start working on mission 3. Also, one of the things I was working on with mission 2, which is a fun little thing here, is the idea of, like, in a survival horror game, you have bits and pieces of lore through, I don't know, journal entries or logs or whatever like that. And so I thought it'd be interesting if we included that as well, where whenever a party member executes, like, a search token or finds it, they also find a bit of lore. So, like, this one would be strange biomass detected in section C. Look for, like, external contamination, but reading match internal life support. Issue level 2 quarantine awaiting snatch alert inspection. And so through these bits and pieces of the lore, you find out that the infected colony has taken over, and then all of a sudden there's demons in the reactor. Giving some good context there. So now let's move on to mission 3. Time for the background story. You press deeper into the station's rotting control deck, your every step stirring the foul mist clinging to the floor. The air is thick now, heavy with chemical rot and something far older. Each flickering light reveals more of the station's madness. Security turrets, long since rewired by corrupted systems, life support nodes covered in slimy pulsating growths, shattered viewports leaking strands of bioorganic matter into the void. Falling fragments of hastily erased access logs and blood-stained floor maps, you finally locate the security command terminal. It sits in the ruins of the primary command nexus, a once grand chamber of glass and reinforced steel, now shattered into twisted skeletal mockery. The self-destruct protocol is still viable, but it's locked behind layers of corrupted security systems. To extract the self-destruct codes, you must hold your ground to defend the terminal during a dangerous, lengthy hacking sequence. So the idea here is the party has to stand its ground, like somewhere right here. They stand their ground, and there's enemies coming from all over while they hack the system. So this is a number of... Welcome, Gantman. The infected colonies are great. So they're gonna protect it. It's kind of like a King of the Hill almost type scenario. Like, stand their ground, and they have to hack the system. Now, they have to hack it for a number of rounds. They have to hack it for a number of rounds. But they also have to successfully achieve it. So they have to have a certain number of successes, and those successes have to happen over a certain number of rounds. But is there a way to rotate this? No, sad. Or they use Captain Valario to... Ooh. Auto pass each round. So this way we reward the players. Hack for auto destruction. So it's hacking the console to get the one of the 2 security keys to be able to self-destruct. That's what they're doing. So they're trying to get the captain's security key out of this system, and they need the to hack that system. William, I thought you were going. Welcome back. What a quick condition. A level where enemies don't move unless a player fails dex roll. If failed, enemies move towards closest hero who fails. Ooh, I like that idea. I think we can really use that on mission 1 of chapter 2, which is they're looking for the next security code. And the whole motif of that one is survival horror again. Now, what would be really interesting is if they don't move. But do they? Is it that they don't move unless they fail a security, a dex check? Dex checks can kind of be rare. Do we make it so if the players want to move, or if the players want to do more than just a move action, they have to do a dex check? So, like, they could move around, but if they want to dash, they have to make a dex check. If they want to interact with a console, they have to make a dex check. If they want to search something, they have to make a dex check. Something like that. Okay. I like that. So, there we go. So, right now, they have to hack the console for a number of rounds, and this probably depend on the difficulty rating they have. Or if they got the bodiless head of Captain Valario, who is currently inhabited by a demon, most likely, they can use that to auto-pass the check each round, but it doesn't reduce the number of rounds. That was my idea I had for this. So that's the objective that we're dealing with. Warboss! Welcome. I was chained to my painting desk. Aren't you always chained to your painting desk? Do people let you free from that? Listen, yes. So the whole point is the station has been corrupted by basically the infected colonies, the wormhole demons, soul snatcher cults, everything. And the alien hives that contracted this party are trying to cover this up because they have a they're trying to make some deals with humans or whatever, and they're trying to a soul snatcher went rogue and caused all of this badness in the space station. So the party, to try to prevent the wormhole demons from escaping, the infected colonies from spreading, all of that, have decided to blow up this space station. So they need to get the security key, the 2 security keys, from the top of the space station to the bottom of the space station. Gauntman, that the 2 factions that are in this is the infected colonies and wormhole demons. Maybe we should do a little bit of recap, because I think we've nearly doubled the number of people watching since we covered that. Okay, so quick recap. The alien hives have hired the party, so they're they're the boss. Like, boss man. Because there is this space station, and before I drew it kind of like a cupcake, so now I have to draw it like a cupcake again. I think that looks less like a cupcake than what I did last time. Maybe we can make it look more like a cupcake. There. Here's my crappy space station cupcake. So the party is going to this space station of a cupcake, and they come in from the top, and on the top floor, they need the security keys. Because this space station has been taken over by the infected colonies and the wormhole demons. The infected colonies are located at the top, for the most part. And the wormhole demons are at the bottom. So then we end up with these 3 layers, where we have the wormhole demons here, the infected colonies here, and then in the middle, we have both, as they fight for dominance over the entire station. Ooh. Cupcake station with the cherry on top. We gotta add the cherry on top. There we go. So the party, seeing that this is an absolute mess, has decided to explode the cupcake, the space station. So they need to get the security keys, which there are 2 of them, from the top floor down to the bottom floor. The problem is, the way to do that is getting into an elevator. But on their way down, once they get the key from the top floor to the elevator, it gets stopped in the middle floor. And the party has to get out, fight their way, or sneak their way to the elevator that's on the other side of the space station, which they go down here. And that's where they find the reactor core with all of its demons. That's like a portal. And then they escape using escape pods. Explode the station, aka what happens if I try to bake a cupcake. Very nice tabletop. Oh, also, Gauntman, the plan with this is to have everything written up, and then I'm just going to release this all to everyone, so anyone can play this. So, now that we have the overview again, we have the space station, which is a cupcake, which I might have to canonically now have it be a cupcake. Their goal is to blow up the space station, because it's overrun with everything. They go down, get the keys from here, go down a floor, run across, get past the demons, blow up the reactor, get out, get the reward. That's the whole vision. Okay. Now that we have that, we've done 2 missions so far. Mission 1, they land in a landing bay, and they fight their way through a bunch of infected colonies. There is a environmental effect dealing with power outages. Mission 2, they have to find the command console, where they explore through the top floor of the space station, and they have the chance of finding a bodiless head of the captain of the station, who has been possessed by a demon. If the party gets him, they get a benefit in Mission 3. By the way, it's Captain Valario. Thank you, Allison, for giving me the name. If they get the captain's head, they get to get a bonus in Mission 3. In Mission 3, they have to hack into the security console that has the security code. If they don't have the head, they have to perform checks to be able to hack the console, and they need to get a certain number of successful checks, but they can only make one check around. If they have the captain's head, though, they automatically pass the check. Allison, we need a deceiving motive behind this mission, aka the self-destruction will kill the party by lack of time to leave the place. Just accepting to deal with the demons, they can teleport away. Yeah, good point. Don't have an answer for that, but that's a good point to bring up. So, right now we have the objective. The battlefield for mission 3 is going to be basically deployment of the enemy from any potential side, with the party starting in the middle around the console, and the party has to do that resource management game of like, okay, who's going to hack the console? Unless they have the head, then it's fantastic. In the previous mission, there was a gravity aspect where each round you roll a die on a 1 or 2. There's high gravity, which means the party has the slow special rule. On a 3 to 4, it's normal, and then a 5 and 6 has low gravity, which means they have the fast special rule. So what special environmental feature or whatever do we want to have on this one? Also, to everyone new to the stream, I now have a frog avatar. I can wave. He's a lot of fun. I can reach all the way around to here. But that's a lot of fun. I think this makes me the very first one-page rules VTuber. So, yeah. I've got motion tracking and all this fun jazz. Yeah, this is... Instead of making videos, I made a frog. I think that's a valuable use of my time. One of my plans, by the way, is to make it to... Yeah, call me Froggy. One of the things I'm trying to work on right now is to make it so his hand moves with the pencil in MS Paint, so that way he's just reaching all across. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that, but that's gonna be fun. But anyways, so do we have any ideas on any special rules that we can have for this? We've done some environmental special rules. In the lore segment that was read, there was a security. There was a mention of a security system. Like turrets and stuff. So we might want to play with that idea. I just feel like if we did that, is that double hacking? Like, do they have to hack the turrets? There, I'll move so you can see the arrow. Crouch down. I don't know. Or, like, maybe if they activate the turrets, it kills enemies. Okay. Allison, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a frog. I don't know anything about storytelling. Yeah, I like the idea. There's an ulterior motive of why they're doing this. The alien hives, the ulterior motive of the alien hives. We can explore that. Okay, so we'll just save that. There's there's a security system, the turrets, their special rule. They can hack this as well. It's hack special. And then let's see. Is there anything else we need? Do we want to have gravity here? Let's throw in visibility as well. So there's going to be the visibility thing. So this means that the lights in the space station are going on and off, so they have to deal with visibility, which would increase or decrease the quality of ranged weapons. Which could be really good, because the infected colony have some really, really powerful ranged weapons. Like, it's not so much in the current version of the infected colonies, but previous versions, they had, what, it's like their gunner squad, I think is what it was called. The gunner squad, you could have machine guns that had the reliable special rule, because the unit had the reliable special rule, and then you could have this machine gun, so you get 3 attacks with reliable special rule, and relentless or something like that. It was just, yeah, I built a list around that. Those weren't dark times. Those are great times when I could field 3 units of those, and on average, they would do 20 hits, I think. No, it was 12 hits on average. So a unit that would cost 125 points would do 12 hits on average, no matter what. Like, and against average defense, it was wounding. It would do 5 to 6 wounds. It was absolutely brutal. And now they nerfed it. Pfft. It was smart of them to nerf it, but my cheese doesn't work anymore. Okay, so I like the thing you said there, Batman, spotlights. That's not how you spot lights. It is now. Okay, cool. So I think that's good for mission 3. Yeah. My friend Redford, who I've done live streams before with previously, he and I played my very first game of Grimdark Future together. And we had no idea what we're doing. So we kind of tried to play it like 40k. Didn't really work, but as we learned more and more, he really got into the cheese aspect, and I have played so many incredibly broken games against him, because we were playing before they added like competitive checks to it. So what is an acceptable list? And one 4,000 point game we played, he had these chariots. I think it was the Demons of Lust, and they were this chariot that had impact 12, back when impact was automatic hits. Or might have been 21. No, it was actually, I think it was either 12 or 21. It was insane. And so he brought his entire army, was just those chariots, and he had 10 of them. And they had a 36-inch range. So on charge. So you could be anywhere on the board, and they would charge you. This is a first edition, by the way. And I built out my army, and I'm like expecting something, and he's like, he asked first. He's like, "Is it okay if I cheese you? This will not be fun." And I just got absolutely demolished. I think he tabled me turn 2, which is really, really impressive in any version of one-page rules. It's really hard to table your opponent in one-page rules. It used to be easier in second edition, because second edition was... Are we in second edition? Oh, crap. I'm brain foggy now. I have to double check this. Which version of this game we're in. Okay, thank goodness we're on third edition. I was so scared I was just spouting nonsense. Okay, so in second edition it was a lot easier to kill things. Thanks, Warboss 3.4. That third edition rolled around and then it was durability through the roof. But the battering ram, as you put it there, tabletop, yeah. He would charge everything, every turn, and the range was so insane that I could not escape. And I was playing Alien Hives, and I brought a bunch of Assault Gaunts. And Assault Gaunts do not do well against automatic hits, I'll tell you that. Then, as we were learning the game more, he calmed down quite a bit. And when I hosted that tournament a while ago, he brought a really fun list, which was the entire list was 3 Harbingers of Plague. You brought chaff. He brought a nuke. No, he brought 10 nukes. It was horrifying. Anyways, so yeah, so in the tournament he entered 3 Harbingers of Plague as his entire army. And while it was incredibly cheesy, he did not make it out of round 1. In fact, he lost round 1 twice. He played round 1, and then we had another player drop out, so he took that player's place, and lost again. But that's because he didn't use something called a beta strike. But I don't know if beta strike is really something anyone's talked about before. Anyways. Mission 4. Not Mission 4. Chapter 4. Holy crap. Chapter 2, Mission 1. There we go. Oh, wait, before that, I'm going to read the outro here. So, Chapter 1 outro. The last corrupted firewall shudders and falls. A final cascade of data flashes across the battered command terminal. With a hiss of static, the self-destruct codes materialize on the cracked screen. The station's final secret laid bare at last. Your tech expert downloads the precious sequence onto a battered, jerry-rigged data core, its lights flickering uncertainly. For a brief moment, the only sounds are your ragged breathing and the distant groan of stressed metal. But then a klaxon pierces the gloom. The terminal's backup protocols triggered by the breach flood the station systems with final cry, and the affected are howling in response. Their rage echoes from the corridors. You don't have time. A flashing line of corrupted code on the terminal catches your eye. A last garbled message from the station's dying core. The self-destruct sequence can only be manually activated. Deep within the reactor core at the bottom of the station. The codes you now carry are only the first step. To end this nightmare, you must descend into the heart of the station, into the festering ruins where the infection is strongest, and where something even worse may be waiting. The creaking of the rusted servos herald the arrival of the station's automated elevator, still somehow obeying their original protocols. As you pile into the battered lift, barricade the door against the screaming horde behind you, a gut-wrenching lurch sends the car plummeting downward. The lights flicker, the smell of burnt oil fills the air. As the upper levels vanish into the darkness above, you realize you're not descending just through the station, but into hell itself. Okay. Then, we go into chapter 1.5, which is the elevator. The elevator shudders violently as it descends, grinding through debris and broken support rails. Flickering hazard lights strobe the cramped space in sickly red bursts. Suddenly, with a screech of tortured metal, the lift lurches to a halt mid-descent. For a breathless moment, all is still. Then, with a soft chime, a portion of the wall slides open. A vendor terminal unfolds mechanically. Its speakers crackle to life through layers of static. Welcome, valued employee, to Zenith System Mobile Concierge Platform. Emergency supplies available at reduced clearance rates. Please conduct transactions swiftly. Customer satisfaction is our primary directive. The screen glitches, cycling through distorted menus, half-corrupted sales jingles, and a grinding holographic mascot offering upbeat handshakes behind the screens. Ancient servos hum weakly, maintaining this ritual of commerce despite the station's ruin. Rows of battered supply lockers slide forward with pneumatic hisses, each one rattling as if barely containing its contents. There we go. Inside are weapons and munition, medicine kits, scrapped components, survival tools, salvaged from the station's dead dreams. For a brief, surreal moment, the horror outside the elevator feels distant. Here, amid the neon flickering of broken capitalism, your survival is just another transaction. And then after you complete the buy stuff, it says, "Thank you for shopping with Zenith Systems. All sales are final, no refunds. No survivors guaranteed." The lift jerks again, warning you to finish your purchase quickly. Whatever awaits you deeper in the station, you will need every advantage you can buy. So the idea here is, if we go back to the cupcake, thingamabob, where is that? Here it is. These elevators have stores in them. So this is kind of a narrative way to explain why in the world would there be like in the game, between chapters, the party is allowed to level up and buy stuff, but you're stuck in a space station that's collapsing and that you're trying to explode. Why in the world would you be able to do that? And so that's where the group, in the last stream, we talked about, and the idea was proposed that there will be an elevator that has the store, and that's where this is coming in. So now we have this meta-narrative explanation of why there's the store. I would love to have custom items in the store, but I don't think that Army Forge supports custom items. So if people were using the Army Forge tool to help them play this game, there wouldn't really be a way for them to integrate those custom ones. So they would have to have it on pen and paper or write, keep track of it their own way. If anyone knows of the ability to have custom weapons or custom items in StarQuest in the tool itself, I don't really want to call it an app, but the web app, please let me know, because I would love to add that. Okay. So that's the outro of chapter 1, and then starting the shopping sequence. We also had the discussion last time if we wanted to do like a beach episode, but we decided against that. So it's sad, but not a lot of beaches on Cupcake space stations. Okay. Continuing on. Chapter 2 introduction. The elevator groans and rattles around you. A wounded beast... Poof. I need to rewrite that. The elevator groans and rattles around you like a wounded beast plunging through darkness. The last automated message from the vendor kiosk cuts out mid-sentence, replaced by the shrieks of falling servos and tearing steel. Without warning, a deafening crash erupts from below. The floors buckle violently as the lift smashes into something. A jarring impact that throws you into a blood-smeared wall. Sparks burst from torn cables. The emergency lights sputter and fail. And for one suffocating heartbeat, everything is black. Then the emergency clamps engage, halting the elevator's plummet with a teeth-rattling jolt. Twisted metal groans all around you. Somewhere far above, you can still hear them. The infected, the mutated, hammering against doors, their howls faint but growing. You force the manual release open. The elevator door shudders apart with a tortured screech, revealing a corridor ripped open like a wound. The middle floors of the station stretch before you, a decaying maze of collapsed living quarters, shattered marketplaces, and broken promenades. Strange, flickering shapes move in the gloom. The smell is worse here, a gut-twisting reek of burning metal, rotting flesh, and something acrid, alien. Your tech expert struggles with a cracked terminal bolted to the wall beside the lift, jury-rigging the ruined station's map into life. It sputters and flickers, but it works. A crude schematic appears. A single functional elevator leads down to the levels. The reactor levels still remain operational, but it's across the entire deck. Through this nightmare, a red icon pulses insistently at the far side of the map, marking your next destination. Between you and salvation lies a battlefield of horrors, the infected hordes, the mutated monstrosities, and something else, something worse, waiting in the deep places where the station's sickness festers unchecked. No more half measures, no more hiding. You secure your gear, tighten your grips on your weapons. The only way out is through. God, man. That's a good... Oh. Okay. The vendor's name should be... Buttercream. Okay. Where are we going to add this? Okay, butter cream. And what's great about this, there you can see my horrible spelling of cream. What's great about this is this vendor could be named Buttercream, but the vendor in the next elevator could be fondant, because you know there's that debate online of buttercream versus fondant. Even though buttercream is objectively better. But anyways. Okay, so I'll make that note there. So, on this mission, the idea is to find the next security key. As it explained in the introduction, this is the kind of the commerce floor of the space station. Fondant is like, it's just sheets of sugar. I don't like it. But this is the kind of the heart and blood of the space stations, where your normal commerce centers are. They're trying to find the security key. And so it would be cool if it was set up like the, I don't know, something like this. Like we have a curved main thoroughfare with stores on either side. Maybe something like that. With like alleyways and stuff, places for nooks and crannies for the party to explore, right? And then this is where we put that special rule in where two actions requires dex check. Or enemies move. Like that. God, man. Sounds like you got to head at the mobs being spawned. And very dangerous to me. Yeah, so that's where this this comes in. I think it was your recommendation, Gotman, that they have to sneak around and they have to search through this area pretty effectively to be able to find the security key. If they pass their checks, the enemies don't move that turn. The idea being over here, they've killed everything. There's nothing around to infect, so they're not worried. Now, if they fail, that's when the enemies start moving. Alternatively, instead of doing that, it could be that each failed... Ooh, this would be really vicious. Failed... Dex... I know that's not how you spell failed, but whatever. Equals +1 alert. This would be brutal. I don't know if I like that or not. It'd be fun though. I don't know how many of you have actually played Star Quest, but like alertness is kind of a big deal when it comes to the game, and the rules at the end of the round, you roll a die. On a 6, alertness goes up by 2, otherwise it goes up by 1. And once you hit a certain level of alertness, it spawns a bunch more enemies. So if every failed dex check that you make resulted in an increase in alertness of 1, you could end up triggering a spawn of enemies like every other round. So if we did it this way, you start out with no enemies. Yeah, no enemies to start. If we do it this way. So maybe that's... We could add this is an or. So like... maybe 2 or 3. So maybe every 2 or 3 fails could work, but I've noticed with gameplay like this, rules that aren't applicable every single turn, that don't benefit the players, are often forgotten. Or rules that are infrequently applied. So, like, having to remember that how many fails I've done, how many fails that have happened so far in a round or in this mission, to be remembered to add that makes it difficult. So, if we left it up to the choice of the party, where they could either do to do 2 actions on their turn, they have to make a dex check, or the enemies start moving towards them. And we keep the normal alertness. Or, this alertness rule happens, but they start out with no enemies on the board. That might be an interesting, to give them a choice. Okay. Great. Well, I'll also like to take a moment. Thank you everyone for watching this. Welcome to anyone who joined recently. Right now my stats say there's 29 people watching, which is a record for me. Thank you very much. I'm happy to see you all. I'm glad that you're all here for the wobbly frog. And his fantastic arms. Woo. Thank you all for watching. But okay. So there's that. We've kind of talked about this, I think, enough. So we have the idea of this, the map setup, the idea of the thoroughfare. They're looking for the security key. And then we have this. I think if we run with one of these two options, we don't have room for any like environmental features or elements or any other special rules. So there's that. Now the question is, do we want to have something like what we have before the start of chapter or mission 1? And for those of you who weren't there, the start of mission 1, chapter 1, the party's trying to land their spaceship because they're coming in from outside. They make it to the station. The station's falling apart. They crash land, and they need to make a check to be able to land it. If they fail, their ship's destroyed. If they succeed, their ship is damaged, but they're fine. But if they really succeed, they land perfectly, and they land in a spot that has secured equipment crates for each one of the party members. So we might think about adding, maybe not in this mission, maybe the next mission, some sort of almost quick time event, I guess would be the best description. I don't know. But yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on to that. This is mission 1. Okay. Now let's move on to mission 2. I gotta draw my square for the battlefield. There's good. And then let's pull up the... Oh, I didn't even read the chapter 1, mission 1 backstory. Let's do that. The air is thicker here, clinging like oil to your lungs as you stagger from the broken lift into the bowels of the station's middle decks. Above you, the shattered remnants of the once bustling plaza creak and sway on tore suspension cables. Everywhere else is ruin. Broken storefronts spill their contents into the darkness. Shattered glass, twisted mannequins, shelves lined with rotted goods. Wait, I need to change this. I'm gonna make this stupid, but I have to do this. Twisted space mannequins. They're not regular mannequins, they're space mannequins. Neon signs sputter and die, casting flickering, feverish lights across the corridor, half choked by rubble and bloodstains. The infected swarm this level in greater numbers than before. They move in jittery, spasmic packs now, their mutations deepening into grotesque screams. Distended limbs, bulbous tumors, bodies twisted beyond human recognition, a parody of life driven only by hunger and rage. Somewhere amid this chaos lies your next objective. The corpse of the co-captain, one of the station's last senior officers, and the bearer of the second set of self-destruct codes. The remains are tagged by the station's emergency network, flickering a signal pulsing like a heartbeat across your hacked map display. No. I've decided I don't like that. Because I don't want the party to necessarily know exactly where it is. Between you and the signal stretches a maze of crumbling corridors, collapsed marketplaces, and flooded lower passages, some choked with debris, others infested with festering nests of corrupted creatures. The infected will not be your only threat. Deeper shadows move beyond the edges of your vision, shapes less broken, less mindless. Things wearing the bodies of the dead like suits of flesh, whispering in languages that make your teeth ache. Above it all, the station groans and shifts. Every tortured creak a reminder that this place is dying and wants to take you with it. You press forward, your every step taking you closer to the heart of madness. There's no turning back. Find the body, find the codes before the station finds you. Perfect. Okay. Now, mission 2. So they found the security code, they found the body, all that fun jazz. They've snuck past everything. You move, now it's, the party has to move to the other side of the station to get the elevator, and we end up with this. The air grows hotter and thicker as you push deeper into the wreckage. The corridor spills out into what was once the station's central marketplace, a vast open chamber now reduced to a battlefield of madness. Collapsed food stalls and shattered walkways from jagged islands in a sea of blood and rain. Fire flickers across broken walls, casting massive twitching shadows. At the heart of the chaos, two titans clash. A grotesque, mutated behemoth, once human, now a mass of bones and rage, battles a towering demonic entity. Its form a shifting nightmare of claws and horns. Their roars shake the shattered ceiling above, sending debris raining down. Around them, the infected horde boils and surges, caught in the tides of their master's war. Gunfire rattles, teeth snarl, the walls themselves seem to tremble. Your path lies straight through this madness. You can try to sneak across the battlefield's edges, using the smoke, fire, and confusion as cover, or you can cut your way through, risking drawing the attention of monsters that should not notice you. A distorted voice crackles through your comms. The captain's head, if you still carry it, garbles with manic excitement and then betrays. A flare of corrupted signal, broadcasting your position to everyone nearby. So, in this chapter, the idea is that you have a path. So let's say you start up here. You have a path to either sneak around, a battleground in the middle. And this is the battleground. We have an infected colony, like Titan, and a wormhole demon Titan. And they're duking it out. And we have a bunch of little gribbly dudes on the side. So the party can sneak around, but if the party has Captain's Philario's head with them, he is going to betray them. Yeah, he's going to betray them, thus preventing the sneak option. I think that's actually pretty straightforward. I don't have anything to add to this. I usually have something to talk about when it comes to this mission, but this mission, pretty straightforward. I guess the only thing would be like, there's no real sneaky rules in StarQuest. There could be line of sight, so you need to stay out of the line of sight of any monsters. I don't want to do more Dex. Dex is really heavily weighted in StarQuest. There's a lot of things revolving around Dex. So, barring the captain's head, I don't really know how this would work. Anyone have any ideas on how you can make this mission work? Because the idea is there needs to be a way for the party to sneak through it, but also the party needs to have the ability to fail. And that failure could be related to the titanic duel that's going on between the infected colony Titan and the wormhole demon Titan. Or it could be any of the groups of guys around these two that are also fighting. So, open to any suggestions. If not, then we'll just move right along. Yeah, okay, so good suggestion there. Could be taking hits for failures. But I don't know what they'd be failing, because again, I don't really want to do, like, Dex checks. Failed hits. No, wait. Back up. Failed equals hits. I don't want to do that because, you know, mission 1 of chapter 2 was all about Dex checks. We could do a number of rounds they have to make it past. That's a great question. What other type of action? So I'm going to pull up the rules. Where are you? Okay. This is taking longer than I was expecting to pull up the rules. And then the rules doesn't tell me right away. I'll create a new hero. Okay, so there is strength check, dex check, will check, but you also can do equality and defense, which is usually related to combat. Will check actually makes a lot of sense here, because they are fighting against like they're in the presence of wormhole demons. So what if it's they have to resist the corrupting influence of wormhole demons? And then X number of failures equals found. So the idea, I know this kind of contradicts what I said before previously, that like if you have inconsistency around a rule, then it makes it so the players don't remember it. But in this instance, the idea would be every single round, every single player needs to make a will check, and if they fail a certain number, so they keep tally of the total number, and there's a single counter, that once they hit that level, they are found out. And that could be like 6 minus the difficulty of the campaign. There. That would be brutal if it was that. But there we go. Yes, put tokens next to your models. Okay. I think this might be the last mission that we're going to do tonight, unfortunately. It's getting a little late for everyone and myself, but we'll finish this up strong and then we'll call it good. So this is mission 3 of chapter 2, and the background story is the battered schematic on your map flickers and dies as you slam the emergency call button. Somewhere deep within the station's decaying systems, an automated elevator begins its slow, tortured descent towards you. You brace yourself, weapons ready, every breath shallow. The station trembles underfoot, shuddering with impacts that grow louder, closer. Then, with a deafening roar, the far wall explodes inward. A hulking mass of mutation and rage, the broken behemoth staggers into view. A nightmare of shattered armor plates, jagged bone, and twitching muscle. Its many mouths scream in a chorus of hate. It's injured badly, its limbs twitching radically, flesh burned and torn from its earlier battle. But wounded or not, its death made flesh. You have 2 choices: stand and fight, bleeding it until it falls, or hold out long enough for the elevator to arrive and escape by inches. The lift arrives. The lift's arrival siren blares somewhere above. A hollow promise of salvation. The behemoth lowers its ruined head and charges. So the idea of this mission is a fun one, which is the party sees the 2 behemoths duke it out in the previous mission, and now they have to deal with the victor of that fight. So this is one of the points in the campaign that matters which direction you chose. So this is something I have not caught people up on who've joined later. Where's my cupcake? That's too far. There we go. Back to the cupcake. So as you can see here, this is our beautiful cupcake with a cherry on top. One of the options is for the party to come in from the top and fight their way down, or they could come in from the bottom and fight their way up. If they come from the top down, they have to find the security codes and enter them into the reactor and explode the station. if they're going bottom up, they get the reactor ready to go, and then they have to find the security station that they can enter the self-destruct sequence. One of the main points here is the last mission on the middle floor is a fight against the boss. If you're going down, the fight's going to be against an infected demon titan. If you're going up, you're going to be over here instead, and it's going to be against a wormhole demon titan. So that's the overall idea, is depending on which path your boss is going to be around, either infected colonies or wormhole demons. Now, with this mission in particular, the fight... Let me find my way down. The fight is going to be against a weakened enemy. So there's not going to be anything spawned in. Like, there's no additional enemies going to be spawning in. I think it's just going to be a simple brawl. One of the aspects of that, though, would be the party is waiting for the elevator here. So they deploy here. Their elevator is right here. Yeah, I'll use that as elevator. And the enemy spawns right here. So there's not a lot of room. So I don't know how to make this a fair fight. So I'm open to any suggestions there. But we could do it like there's terrain features that make it fair, like cover. We could have those turrets again. Yeah, the demon beat up from the last fight, so it's already injured. So like 1/2 or 1/3 the tough that it would normally have. And that could be really good, but it also means that we need to make it so the enemy is melee only. Because we definitely don't want, like, one of these titans just spewing magic or shooting at any of us. Because, like, could you imagine... we're going to go with infected colonies. I'm pulling up Army Forge right now. Infected colonies. Let's look at their list. Like an abomination or a great beast. Or let's go with abomination because that's just insane. No, that would work. So, because does it have any ranged upgrades? No, it doesn't. Corrupted beast. Can you do any ranged? Cool. There's not a whole lot of... Ooh, there we go. It's combat walker. Infected colonies. So an infected combat walker. It starts with a heavy flamer. But if it got upgraded with like a twin laser machine gun, it has 30-inch range. So just imagine the party going against that. That would be absolutely hysterical. 30 inches away, and it produces 6 attacks, AP 3 at quality 4. So that'd be 3 hits at AP 3. And in StarQuest, that's StarQuest tough is a lot higher. Like there was one character I made last time I played StarQuest, which had 18 tough at level 1. And it's just insane. But going against something like this, after the party has gone through 2 missions already, yeah, we have to do melee only. So, no range. No magic. Just melee. And that would give them maybe 2 turns to soften it up. The goal is survive X rounds. Yeah, X rounds. X is determined by the difficulty. Oh, hey, Custodes. Yeah, we're working on, like Gauntman said, we're working on making missions for a custom campaign. So right now, the current mission is one where the party is cornered waiting for an elevator to whisk them away as a gigantic infected colony enemy is barreling down on them. And it's injured because it was in a fight previously, and the party has to either kill it or survive enough rounds to make it out. And I think that's good. I think that covers this. That's mission 3. Okay. That's mission 3 of chapter 2. In my plan for chapter 3, it's pretty simple. There's only going to be 2 missions. Because those 2 missions are required combat. The only other mission would be like the party getting out of the space station and receiving their reward, which doesn't feel like a real mission to me. But anyways, so let's now read the chapter 2 outro. The elevator door slams shut behind you with a groan of tortured metal. For a moment, only the rattling of your breaths and the dull hum of ancient servos fill the blood-streaked chamber. You made it, barely. Outside, the ruined middle decks vanish into shadow, leaving behind only the echoes of battle and the distant howl of things that still haunt the station's dying corridors. The data core containing the second self-destruct code blinks weakly in your tech expert's hand. Both halves of the station's death sentence now secured, but the codes are useless without the reactor core itself. As the lift groans into motion, the descent begins again. The air grows hotter with each passing floor. The walls sweat, grime, and rust, and the very bones of the station seem to buckle and crackle under the weight of its corruption. Somewhere below the reactor waits, a festering heart of madness pulsing with unstable energy and demonic contamination. There will be no safe zones now, no sanctuary. The infection and the corruption have burrowed deep here, merging into something worse than either alone. You reload your weapons. You share a silent nod with your comrades. There's no way back, no chance for mercy. Only the final choice remains. Burn this nightmare to ash, or be burned with it. I like it. So the thing that I thought I was being funny with is there will be no safe zones now. And then a little over 2 paragraphs later, It's elevator store time. It's a safe zone. The elevator lurches and groans as it plummets even deeper into the station's hollowed corpse. The air stinks of burnt oil and chemicals. Just as the floor shudders and the emerging clamp squeals in protest, a familiar chime cuts through the grime. Welcome, valued employees, to the Zenith System's last stop supplies experience. With hiss of hydraulics, a hidden panel folds open along the elevator wall. Out spills a battered, flickering vendor terminal, its screen spiderwebbed with cracks, its speakers coughing through the broken recording. Supplies tailored to mission-critical needs. End-of-life prices now active. Shop quickly. Fate awaits for no one. Rows of decrepit lockers slide outward, rattling on damaged tracks. Inside, a scavenged munition, fraying medkits, unstable grenades, half-charged energy cells, the final crumbs of a dying station's bounty. Beyond the vendor's flickering neon glow, you hear it, the distant rumble of something massive stirring below. And then we move on to Chapter 3. But, unfortunately, I think that's where I need to end it tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I absolutely appreciate the interactions, the feedback, also trying to test out the chat thing, which still working out the bugs, the chat bot there. Thank you for also setting my record for the most concurrent viewers, and for a lot of you joining in for the first time, I believe. I believe I'm just going to finish out the last 2 missions myself, so those will be a mystery. And then from there, I will work on just finalizing everything, which shouldn't take much, because the hard part is the ideas. The lore stuff, that's the really hard part, but from now it's just minimal text and writing up some special rules and adding them and basically copy and paste things together. If I get really ambitious, I'm going to format it in a similar way to like the official ones, with my own froggy flair. And then the goal is to release this to everyone. So I'll make this available to everyone for free. I actually have a drive-through RPG account that has nothing on it, so I'll use that. I can publish it there so it feels more official and whatever. But I would totally love is to actually run this campaign. And that's what I think there could be a lot of fun with this. Now, the reason why I tested out a chatbot earlier is because I like the idea of potentially having the campaign ran where it's 3 players and then chat taking control of one of the players, giving ideas on what the player could do, and then I control it. That might not have a great flow to it, but we can see. Or the alternative is that chat can modify the mission by voting for things or using points or something. Kind of in the vein of the Hunger Games, right? Where people could buy boons to send to their favorite contestant. That would be kind of more like chat awards a reroll token to a player, where the player gets to use that reroll token, or chat awards a forced reroll token, where the player has to reroll their next check, or chat could increase the alertness, or they could give a bonus to a skill check. There's a bunch of different things I've been thinking about, so that's kind of what I've been trying to prep for. So keep an eye out for that. And Warboss, I would totally love it if you could play in that campaign, but we can talk about that potentially later. Anyways, thank you all for being patient with me and my inconsistency with posting videos. I try my best. But I have a baby on the way, so we'll see. But the good news, potentially, is I'm taking 4 weeks off of work for my day job after the baby arrives. So there might, heavy emphasis on might, be some more time for me to do live streams or something like that. Thank you. So, keep an eye out on that. I will try my best to not just disappear and yeah, I keep on getting comments from people saying, are you alive or whatever, and I apologize if I worry anyone, but I'm here. I'm trying to make content that you all will enjoy. So thank you very much for joining me on this live stream, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.